Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our discussion today. We are going to talk about a very sensitive and often painful topic. Should infidelity always mean the end of a relationship? It's a question many people face, and the answers are rarely easy. With us today are Ben, who believes that infidelity should indeed mark the end of a partnership, and Chloe, who thinks there might be situations where a relationship can continue. Ben and Chloe, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. I believe that infidelity is an ultimate betrayal, a line that, once crossed, changes everything irrevocably. It fundamentally shatters the very foundation upon which a healthy relationship is built. A foundation of honesty and mutual respect. Trust is the absolute cornerstone of any romantic partnership. Without it, what do you really have? It's like trying to build a house on sand. Infidelity doesn't just crack this foundation, it demolishes it completely, leaving behind ruins. Think about it. The promises made, the intimacy shared, the future you plan together, all become tainted by this act of deceit. And rebuilding that trust to its original, pure state? I think that's often an impossible task. How can you truly trust someone again when they have broken such a fundamental promise? Even if you try, the doubt will likely always linger in the back of your mind, a constant shadow. Every late night at work, every unanswered phone call can become a source of new suspicion and anxiety. Furthermore, staying in a relationship after such a profound betrayal can seriously damage one's self-esteem and self-worth. It can make you question everything about yourself. Was I not enough? What did I do wrong? This internal damage can be long-lasting, and it can set a dangerous precedent, suggesting that such behavior might be tolerated, or even worse, implicitly accepted. This undermines your own standards for how you deserve to be treated. Protecting your own emotional well-being and self-respect must be the priority in such a situation. For these reasons, I strongly believe that ending the relationship is usually the healthiest, and often the only, path forward to truly heal and to regain your sense of self. It allows both individuals the chance to move on and perhaps find new relationships built on an unwavering foundation of trust and honesty from the very start.
Thank you, Sarah. And Ben, I understand your points about betrayal and broken trust. They are very valid. Infidelity undoubtedly causes immense pain and is a serious event in any relationship. I don't want to minimize that hurt at all. However, I believe it's not a simple issue with a one-size-fits-all answer, like automatically ending the relationship. Relationships are incredibly complex, just as people are. They have layers of history, shared experiences, and deep connections. Sometimes, and I stress sometimes, infidelity can be a terrible symptom of pre-existing problems within the relationship that haven't been addressed. If those underlying issues, like poor communication, unmet needs, or growing apart, are confronted honestly, working through the crisis of infidelity, however painful, could potentially lead to a stronger, albeit different, relationship. There are important factors to consider before making such a final decision. Was this a one-time mistake, a moment of weakness that is deeply regretted? Or is it part of a pattern of deceitful behavior? Is there genuine remorse from the person who was unfaithful? Are they truly sorry for the pain they caused? Not just sorry they got caught? And crucially, is there a sincere willingness from them to change, to understand why it happened, and to seek help, perhaps through therapy, to ensure it never happens again? Shared history, the presence of children who would be affected, and a deep, abiding love that still exists despite the hurt, can also be powerful reasons to at least explore the possibility of reconciliation. This exploration requires immense commitment from both partners, of course. A blanket rule of always end it ignores these nuances of human relationships and the potential for genuine growth, forgiveness, and rebuilding, however difficult that path may be. It closes the door on the possibility that something can be learned and salvaged, even from such a damaging experience.
Chloe, I appreciate your points about the complexity of relationships and the pain involved. No one is denying that. However, while relationships are complex, the act of infidelity itself is a clear line crossed. It's a conscious choice, a deliberate decision to betray. You mentioned infidelity can be a symptom of other problems. I find that a difficult justification, even if a relationship has problems, and many do. Cheating is a destructive choice, not an acceptable way to signal distress or seek solutions. There are constructive ways to deal with relationship issues: communication, therapy, or even deciding to separate amicably. Infidelity is not one of them. And this idea of genuine forgiveness and forgetting, can one truly forget such a deep wound? The shadow of infidelity, as I mentioned, can loom large for a very long time, perhaps forever, affecting future intimacy and trust. Moreover, what is the risk of further pain if the relationship continues? If the behavior is excused or minimized, even slightly, what's to stop it from happening again? Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself, and perhaps even for the other person in the long run, is to acknowledge that some boundaries, once broken, cannot be fully repaired.
Ben, your concerns about the shadow of infidelity and the risk of repeated behavior are completely understandable. It's a very real fear for anyone who has been betrayed. And you're right, trust is severely broken. But I do believe it can be rebuilt in some cases. It's not easy, and it's not quick. Rebuilding trust requires extraordinary effort, consistent transparency, and demonstrable, changed behavior from the person who was unfaithful over a long period. It's not just about saying sorry. It's about living differently and proving that commitment every single day. You talked about infidelity being a deal breaker, and for many people, it absolutely is, and that is a valid personal boundary. However, for others, the entirety of their relationship, the years invested, the family built, the deep connection that might still exist beneath the pain, can lead them to consider if this crisis, this awful event, can be overcome. This is especially true if the infidelity was an isolated incident, a terrible lapse in judgment that is met with profound and sincere regret, rather than a calculated pattern of deception. A crucial element here is the unfaithful partner taking full, unequivocal responsibility for their actions, without excuses or blame shifting. And equally important is the betrayed partner's willingness to, eventually, try to forgive, which is different from forgetting. Forgiveness, in this context, can be about letting go of the consuming anger and resentment for their own peace of mind, whether the relationship continues or not.
This is a very complex discussion, with strong points on both sides. Ben, Chloe talks about genuine remorse and a willingness to change. Are there any circumstances, perhaps related to the depth of that remorse or the actions taken afterwards, where you believe such change could be profound enough to warrant not ending the relationship?
Sarah, my stance is that the breach is usually too severe. However, if genuine remorse is truly exceptional, involving immediate full honesty, a deep commitment to long-term therapy, and a complete change in behavior perhaps some might consider it. But the person who cheated would need to show extraordinary effort to understand their actions and patiently support their partner's healing, however long it takes. Even then, the original trust is gone. It would be about building something entirely new, and the odds are very low. The scar always remains.
Thank you, Ben. Chloe, Ben emphasizes the deep wound to self-respect for the betrayed partner. It's a very powerful point. How can someone stay in a relationship after infidelity without feeling like they've compromised their own value or accepted unacceptable behavior?
Sarah, maintaining self-respect is crucial. Staying isn't about weakness. It can be a choice of strength if conditions are right. It means the betrayed partner sets firm boundaries. The unfaithful partner must show true remorse and actively work on rebuilding trust, perhaps through therapy. If these conditions are met and the betrayed partner feels empowered in the process, it's not about compromising value. But if self-respect suffers, then ending it is necessary.
These are very nuanced perspectives. A general question for both of you now. What role does couples therapy or outside help play in your view, and how effective can it truly be after trust is broken so profoundly by infidelity?
Sarah, therapy can help individuals cope with the aftermath, certainly. The betrayed person can find support, and the one who cheated might gain insight. However, for couples therapy to truly mend the relationship after infidelity, I'm skeptical. Trust, once shattered so completely, is incredibly hard to glue back together, even with professional help. It might help them communicate better through a separation, but fully restoring the relationship to a healthy state is a huge challenge.
Sarah, I believe therapy can be very important if both are committed. It offers a safe space to discuss the pain and understand what happened. A therapist can guide them in rebuilding communication and trust, helping the unfaithful partner show real remorse and make changes. It's not a guaranteed fix, but it can provide tools and support for a couple genuinely wanting to try and heal the relationship, or at least understand the breakdown.
To summarize my position, infidelity represents a fundamental breach of the core principles that underpin any loving, committed relationship: trust, respect, and honesty. When these are betrayed so deeply, the damage is often irreparable. Choosing to leave a relationship after infidelity is not an admission of failure. Rather, it is an act of self-preservation and self-respect. It is about protecting your emotional well-being and upholding your personal standards for how you deserve to be treated. While the path of separation is undoubtedly painful, it also opens the door to future happiness. It allows for the possibility of finding a new relationship, one built from the outset on an unwavering foundation of mutual trust, honesty, and genuine commitment, where you feel secure and valued. That, I believe, is a future worth choosing.
In closing, my main point is that each situation involving infidelity is unique, deeply personal, and incredibly complex. While it is undeniably a severe blow to any relationship, a betrayal that causes profound hurt, it doesn't automatically dictate that the relationship must end. The context of the infidelity, the history of the relationship, the presence of genuine, deep remorse, and a mutual, active commitment to healing and rebuilding are all critical factors to consider. It requires immense courage from both individuals to even attempt to navigate such a crisis. Sometimes, working through such a profoundly difficult experience, though incredibly hard and painful, can lead to a different, perhaps more honest, but still meaningful and strong future for the relationship. It's not a path for everyone, but the possibility of redemption and renewed commitment, if genuinely pursued, shouldn't be dismissed outright.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Chloe, for sharing your thoughtful and heartfelt perspectives on what is undeniably a very difficult and emotional topic. You've given us much to consider, highlighting the core conflict. Is infidelity an unforgivable breach of trust, or a human failing that, in some circumstances, might be overcome with immense effort? There are clearly no easy answers, and the right path will differ for everyone. We hope this discussion has provided some valuable insights for our audience to reflect on their own values and the complexities involved. Thank you for joining us.